so for those of you that saw my last video, I lied to you. I did find the time to hop on here and talk about the Raptors trade deadline. So here we are. We're doing a roundup on the trade deadline, on the deals we saw, the deals we didn't, and what happens next from here. JJ Buckets, usual drill. Like the video, helps it out in the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And if you do sports betting, check out the link in my description below. So let's talk about what we saw here and what we didn't, what might happen next. Starting off with the Utah Jazz trade. I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. Now look, I think some people, when they saw the first round pick included, they might have overreacted a touch to that fact. Although I guess not my place to tell people how to feel. Yeah, when they saw the first round pick included, it was just like, well, why the hell are the Raptors giving up first round picks? They should be accumulating them. And while I don't disagree, I do see the logic kind of a little bit behind this trade. So first of all, outside of that pick, they're really not giving much up in the deal, right? And like, I'll have the trade details probably somewhere on the screen as I'm saying this, but yeah, they're really not giving up that much in that deal. And I like it for one of two reasons. Number one, we obviously talked about it in the last video. Depth at the big man position at the center spot is needed. Kelly Olynyk is a very good role player to have on your team. And for those that care, he's Canadian, so there's that boosted factor as well. Go buy your Kelly Olynyk jerseys as I speak. But yeah, Kelly Olynyk, solid role player, obviously not a great defender, but outside of that, he does a lot of great things on the court for your team. So it's a good ad for Toronto. And Ochai Agbaji, right? I believe I pronounced that right. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me in the comment section. I think with him, what the Raptors are banking on is that he is going to be better than whatever you could have selected with that like 28th overall pick, whatever it ends up being. It's a very late draft pick for Toronto regardless. But whatever that pick ends up being, I believe this team is banking on the fact that with Agbaji, I know I'm going to get roasted. I know I'm going to get roasted about that pronunciation. But yes, with him, you're banking on the fact that he'll end up being better. And I think that's a decent bet to make, right? Like, this guy was a lottery pick just a few years ago. So it's not like he doesn't have the potential. And I think defensively, obviously, you see tremendous upside there. Like, he's already a pretty decent defender, but he can be even better, which I think Toronto likes that. And then on top of that, if you could get him to a decent shot offensively, at worst, I talked a lot about 3-and-D guys in my last video. He can be a very quality 3-and-D player for you, so I don't mind that deal. I don't mind gambling on a guy that's still really young and still has good upside and surrendering a late pick in a draft that you already had plenty of them and a draft that's not considered to be a strong one. So I don't mind that deal in the slightest. The Dennis Schroeder trade is weird to me. I get the logic where they were trying to get an expiring contract. They're trying to clear up cap space potentially, which I'll get to. But you're telling me you couldn't find a deal with Dennis Schroeder that could have involved like at least some second round picks or something? That's what's weird to me here. Like, I get why they did the deal in terms of clearing up that space. Obviously because Emmanuel quickly needs to get paid in the offseason. Scotty Barnes probably needs an extension at some point. I don't know if it happens this offseason or when, but Scotty Barnes does need that extension. And maybe you're trying to take a run at somebody in free agency. Maybe you're looking at like a Nicholas Claxton and thinking to yourself, yeah, that's my guy, and you want to sign him. Maybe that's what they're thinking there. And they were just like, you know what, we'd rather just take the, cap space. Obviously, Kelly Olynyk as well from the previous deal is an expiring contract as well. So I said as well twice, but you get the idea. You're definitely positioning yourselves that if you want to take a run at somebody in free agency, you're gonna have that opportunity. It's just, is this the best class to really do it in? I mean, what are you gonna take a run at LeBron? Maybe if he declines his player option. Draft Bronny James, is that the game plan? I'm kidding, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I can definitely see why they got the expiring, but I don't know. You're telling me there wasn't a deal out there that was an expiring plus like a second rounder from a different team that could have involved Schroeder. It is what it is. That trade was weird to me. And now on the other end of it, you have the trades that didn't happen, right? Like Bruce Brown is still here on the Raptors, and we're past the deadline, which I think most people would have bet that he would have been gone by now, and he's not. He's still here. I understand that with his contract and with them having a team option on Bruce Brown, they can obviously go in a lot of different directions with what they want to do there. I just still think it's weird that they didn't want to get that value. I mean, I again, like, the only thing I can really think is that they are trying to take a run at somebody, but if Bruce Brown is just essentially an expiring because you're not going to pick up his team option, I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what's going on there, Ed. You tell me how you feel about the Pascal Siakam trade in hindsight, if that's the case. Chris Boucher, I really did think was going to get traded by this deadline as well. I'm guessing just nothing materialized, and there wasn't really a good deal out there for him. So take that for what you will. And then Gary Trent Jr., I thought could really go either way, whether or not he stays on this team. So he's still here. Obviously, Jakob Poeltl is still here. I know some fans expected him to maybe be a name that's out on the block, maybe a name that's traded today, which would have been really funny because it would have been deadline to deadline in terms of his time with the Raptors, but he's still here. So yeah, a lot quieter of a deadline than was anticipated, I believe, but here we are. And the Raptors made their two moves. I don't mind the Jazz trade. I understand what they're trying to do with the Schroeder trade. I just think maybe there was a better deal out there. I don't know, but clearly there wasn't, if that's the one that got done, right? So I don't know. You tell me with that one. But better yet, I think that more or less wraps up my thoughts on the trade deadline today. It was a little uneventful considering what it could have been, but you tell me, if the Raptors are positioning to take a run at somebody in free agency, which they might be, tell me who you think that is, right? Like, I think Claxton is obviously the name that kind of sticks out to you, but is there anybody else in this free agency class that you think the Raptors are just kind of like staring down and going, yeah, that's our guy? If you know who that guy is, or if you think you know who that guy is, drop it in the comment section below. Besides for that, folks, end of the video here. So usual drill that I say at the front and at the end: like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Other than that, folks, it's been JJ Buckets. It's been a pleasure, and I will see everybody next time.